Hi everybody, it's Az here from HeelvsBabyface. Now yesterday I brought you a video on the Destruction Warlocks artifact weapons talents, which is a bit of a mouthful today. Today, and a huge thank you by the way to MMO Champion for allowing me to use their talent calculator for this. There's a link for it in the description down below if you want to have a look at your class and your specs if it's available. Today I'm going to be looking at the Affliction Warlocks artifact weapons talents. Woo! I have to say that quite slowly. Now, there's a couple of massive differences than the video I brought you yesterday. Number one is the layout. Now, this is for Ulthalesh, the Deadwind Harvester, or as I like to call it, the really cool-looking scythe that you get with Affliction. The layout is completely different, and also one thing that I did notice by just briefly going through the talents is I feel there's a lot more synergy with the spells and abilities which are on offer here than there were yesterday for the Destruction one. So I do think the Destruction one can be tightened up. There were a couple of talents there I was a bit like, does that really belong in the Destruction specs one? So yeah, expect, plenty of things, because it's all subject to change, to be put in or taken away. But, as ever, you'll all start where the gold-rimmed ability is, right here, where the arrow's pointing. I mean, who would think otherwise? Only a dummy. And one massive difference from yesterday is this actually starts off with a spell. Now, I don't think that the Destruction one even got a single solitary spell. It was all like buffs or little traits or whatnot. But this is a physical spell that you get. It's called Reap Soul. 2-second cast. 45-second cooldown, deals 20% of your spell power as shadow damage every 3 seconds for 42 seconds. Each time Reap Soul deals damage, it increases in damage frequency by 6.66%. So that is a ramp up dot. So the very first thing that we get to know about Affliction Warlocks is another dot coming to the table. So we've got Corruption, we've got Agony, we've got Unstable Affliction, and now Reap Soul as an additional dot on top of that. And judging by the power that it can bring to the table, absolutely has to be maintained, absolutely has to be on the target, and then when the cooldown runs out, it's ready for refreshing. So from there, I'm just going to move across to Inherently Unstable. Now, this is a bog standard DPS ramp up. So 1 point, it increases the critical strike chance of your unstable affliction by 6%. 2 points, 8%. 3 points, it goes up to 10%. So yeah, nothing really to massively discuss there. So we're going to go down and around for this one. Now, this is quite unbelievable. I love the look of this next one. Sweet Souls. Great name as well. Your health stone fully heals you. Lay of hands much? Any party member using a health stone also heals you for the amount that they were healed. Oh my god! If you're looking at this from a raid situation or a PvP situation, holy crap, the utility of this is unbelievable. Now, one thing that I did notice in the comments of yesterday's video is when I went through the talent where you go through the demonic gateway for destruction and it fully heals you up. And I had a lot of people saying, well, that's unfair because that's just like a lay of hands, which I just mentioned before. Well, there's nothing to say if we go through talents of another spec that there is going to be this sort of thing available for other specs. So, until you see what your artifact weapon has in store for you, just hang back on the WTF moments. There's plenty of time until the release of Legion, plenty of time for things to be added and taken away. Keep having to say this, but everything is subject to change. But just in that current format, oh my goodness me, I really do like the sound of that. So I'm going to come down, and this goes to Perdition. Increases the critical damage of your agony, corruption, it just says drain here, maybe drain life, and unstable affliction by 6% for 1 point, 10% for 2 points, and 13% for 3 points. So that's pretty massive. There's your critical damage for those 1, 2, 3, 4 spells right there. So, you know, you look at Perdition, then you also, again, look at inherently unstable. Suddenly, Unstable Affliction is looking very, very tidy indeed. And it's only going to get better. From there, I'm going to go down to our first Golden Dragon ability. And this is Wrath of Consumption. Killing an enemy causes your damage over time effects to deal 2% more damage. This ability stacks up to 5 times. So just reading that, to me, it screams multi-dotting. And this is one thing that Blizzard did say that they wanted to really bring back to Affliction Warlocks. You know, they really wanted dots to become the most important element of this spec. So whichever targets you've got in front of you, dot, 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 and dot. More dots. Make sure that everything has those dots on them. And then when something dies, of course, you're getting 2% extra on your other dots. And therefore, by time, if you're in a big pack of mobs, you get down to the final mob, it should be taking nice uber damage because of this. Now, moving up from there, we go to Hideous Corruption, and it increases the damage of your corruption spell by 6%, 8%, and then 3 points will take it to 10%. So again, we're looking at a very standardized DPS ramp up. Nothing massive to discuss. Nice ability, don't get me wrong. I'm not kind of dismissing the ability, but, you know, there's not really too much that you can go into depth with stuff like that. So straight up from there, we go to Shadowy Incantations. Increases your shadow damage dealt. Now, bearing in mind, everything here is using shadow damage. 1.6%, 2 points, 8%, and then 3 points, 10%. So this one is very important because corruption, shadow damage, agony, shadow damage, unstable affliction, shadow damage, and then of course the starting spell, Reap Soul, shadow damage, and then stuff like Drain Life is no doubt going to be shadow damage, and Drain Life is going to be your main filler for the affliction spec. So that's pretty much giving you 10% across the board here. So very, very nice indeed. And then you can jump to our next Golden Dragon ability, and this is Soulflame. Another one that I really like the sound of. When you kill a target, its soul bursts into flames, not shadow damage, so this ain't going to be affected by that. Dealing shadow flame damage. I take it all back immediately. It's shadow flame damage to everything around it. So yeah, that will probably actually be affected, therefore, by shadowy incantations as well. So that's really nice. So pretty much when a target dies, it explodes, does AoE burst damage in a location around it. We don't know what it is. Could be 8 yards, 10 yards, 15 yards, whatever. But when it comes to AoEing stuff down, they're pretty much all together anyway. It's going to be a good one. So we can move up from there to Long Dark Night of the Soul. Very long title, but, you know, for such a short description, very nice. Increases the healing of your drain spells by 20% for 1 point, 30% for 2, and 40% for 3 points. Now, this makes a lot more sense. The kind of drain life thing I didn't think made too much sense in the destruction one, because it really kind of took you out of your rotation as a massive WTF moment. Drain life in Affliction isn't. Like I said, it's meant to be your main filler spell here. When all your dots are up, then it's get your drain life on before reapplying dots. So that coming into effect, very nice indeed, getting 40% extra healing from it. Moving across to Compound Interest, each agony and corruption you cast increases the damage of your next unstable affliction by 10%. So once more, this is the promotion of multi-dotting, and it's also kind of like the promotion of multi-dotting each individual target. So really, you want to cast your agonies, corruptions, then get unstable affliction on, move to the next target, corruption, agony, unstable affliction on it, as well as, of course, Reap Soul. Don't forget your Reap Soul if it's available, and then, you know, kind of rinse and repeat throughout. And if you do it by that methodology, you're always going to get an additional additional 10% on the unstable affliction. And of course, if you've gone down here, you've got an additional 10% there. If you've gone down here, you've got the 13% crit damage. If you've gone over here, it's another 10%. So that, you know, all things like this, there's a, like I said at the start of the video, such a synergistic feel to the way that this kind of operates. And I do like the sort of like the flowing motion of the way that you can go around here. From there, moving across to the right, Seeds of Doom increases the detonation damage of your Seed of Corruption by 10%, 15% for 2 points, 20% for 3 points. Again, nothing massive I can really discuss about this. Kind of, you know, bog standardy spell. Moving across, or trait, whatever. Fatal Echoes. When your unstable affliction expires, it has a 25% chance to reapply itself. That's a nice one. A lovely little passive there. So, in effect, 1 in 4 unstable afflictions will simply reapply. You won't have to reapply the unstable affliction. So, it just kind of takes a little bit of the pressure off the multi-dotting if it goes onto one target. A nice little benefit to have there. And then we can go down now to Drained to a Husk. Oof, I like that. Increases the damage of your drains by 6%, 8%, 10%. So your filler spell gets 10% extra damage if you put 3 points in there. Again, it just works well with everything that's been said so far. Moving across again, Imitable Agony. Very strange that, because that kind of means like special, weird. Wait, never mind. But increases the damage of your agony spell by 6%, 8%, 10%. Again, it's another bog standard DPS ramp up. Now, there isn't any connection to the one at the top, so you're kind of going either across from Fatal Echoes to Mere Flesh. If you choose to go down at the bottom and come across to the right, you probably have to backtrack to go across there unless you want the main one, but we'll have a look at the end. So if you go across from the top, you get Mere Flesh. Reduces the damage that you take by 6%, 8% for 2 points, and 10% for 3 points. So that's just a damage reduction, simple damage reduction ability. So we've had literally DPS increases all across the board here, apart from that one health stone, that great utility on the health stone one. And then this is only like the second utility spell, which is just a simple damage reduction. I'll take that sort of thing. And then finally, we come across to Harvester of Souls. Now, I love the sound of this. Your drain spells have a chance to trigger on all targets afflicted by your corruption for 3 seconds. So just put this into context. You have a group of 8 mobs, and they're all affected by corruption. You then go to drain life. Harvester of Soul kicks in. All 8 targets get drained for 3 seconds. So it's like that multi-drain life that we had at the beginning of Mists or whenever it was, which got taken away. So it's like could be a multi-drain life. So depending on how many targets are in front of you, it could be massively beneficial, or it could be just a little bit beneficial. But, you know, anything which triggers hitting another target for sort of free, inverted commas if you get where I'm coming from, is no problem whatsoever. And then, of course, at the top, we have these couple of orbs. The first one is an empty shadow relic. So a shadow relic gets stuffed into there. And this one is an empty blood relic. So a blood relic can get shoved into that one. So, I mean, when I saw the artifact weapon for Affliction, when I heard at BlizzCon what they were attempting to do with Affliction, i.e. bring back that main aspect of what it used to be. It's all about dots, you know, kind of forget about the other stuff, dot, 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 dot. Make that the focal point of this spec. It really kind of turned me back onto it. Haunt is actually becoming a talent that you can get. I'll do the talents in another video, the sort of from the regular talent trees and things like that. So you can get some in, you can get Haunt, but it's not a necessity. So it's going to become an option for this spec. But I really like the idea of just dot, death by dots. That's the Affliction spec which I fell in love with. That's the Affliction spec which I'd love to get back to. This is doing everything possible to push those buttons and to turn me onto it. So let me know what you think about the Affliction artifact weapon talents in the description down below. And again, another big thank you to MMO Champ for letting me use their talent calculator for this. Link to it is in the description box, so do check it out for your specs. And also put in the comments down below which one you'd like to see next that I've dealt with Warlocks. Demonology is not done yet, folks. I can't do the Demonology one. So give me your class, you know, give me your spec, and you'll never know, it could be the next video I do for the artifact weapon talents. And I hope you enjoyed the vid. If you did, do give it a thumbs up and also subscribe. Follow me on social media and Twitch for live streaming. Links are in the description down below. And I'll be back with some more stuff very soon. You take care, everybody. Bye-bye.